the most successful sellers, the 7 and 8 figure and 9 figure sellers that are on the platform, they didn't get there from being passive about their business, not one. And we've talked to a lot of successful sellers. I haven't run across one yet that's told me, I love spending my days on the Cayman Islands and phoning it in and having margaritas. Okay, cool, vacation mode. But when it comes to the daily operation of the business, haven't met one yet. Maybe they exist, but the majority of these folks that are killing it and crushing it are not sitting at St. Bart's being served beautiful cocktails or mocktails. Customers want everything all in one, no matter what industry you're selling a product for. And you can overcome that logistical challenge of delivering product A, B, and C in one box to a customer. You have happier customers and repeat customers. And repeat customers are profitable customers because now you don't have to spend ads. You don't necessarily have to go back trying to find the new prospect cost money. If you are going to succeed on Amazon, the first thing you have to command is
You're listening to
Welcome to What the Tech, your gateway to business strategies and tech secrets shaping today's workplace. You know, Dave, I'm glad to do part 2 of this series talking about drop shipping, reselling, and using advanced techniques to get a leg up on the competition. You know, I'm really looking forward to also sharing a little bit of the journey and what got us to this, from going from literally $0 out of my kitchen selling the products we sell today to today, where we have folks that are part of the team that from around the world in multiple time zones.
You know, it's an interesting story. When I talk to people that I'm acquainted with and I tell them the Global Teck story, I'll tell you they're all amazed and they're like, how did it start? And now you're doing online content and videos and podcasting and you're all over Amazon and your sales are up here and your team is, you know, small and manageable. It's a great story. I've told a lot of people here, and I'm happy that we have a chance to share it with the folks out there on the net.
It's a very improbable journey because, you know, I believe the Small Business Administration has, you know, documented that nearly half of all businesses go out of business in the first 5 years. Something like 25% go out of business the first year. So it's a really tough climb to be an entrepreneur and to take it beyond just, you know, a side hustle. And a lot of folks today, Dave, they are trying to get that side hustle to the next level. And that's why we're here. We're here to help folks that are maybe they're a little further along and they're looking at Amazon to see if maybe they can really grow that business. And I want to encourage you, if you're listening to us today, whether you're reselling and drop shipping, which is kind of what we're really going to go into, and we'll touch a little bit on private label and how that's worked out for us, share with you what we've been able to do to go from 0 to 8 figures a year. And these strategies will also help you do that so that you can also be a 7 and 8 figure seller on Amazon or any of these other platforms. But today we're going to talk more about Amazon because that's where this journey has led us. So I just want to remind you, if you're checking out this episode, we have a part 1 where we went over basics on and essentials on how to get things going on Amazon and other platforms like Amazon, so that when you're listening to part 2, you're ready to handle what we're going to throw at you today, which is advanced selling and some other things that are going to make more sense if you listen to part 1. But right now, if you've already consumed part 1, get ready for part 2.
Hey, Rolando, you know what? We're all doing it. You know, picture this. Picture a hectic workday. We're toggling between applications, you know, toggling between all these different applications is second nature. We're in Teams, we're in Zoom, we're in our CRM, we're making personalized videos, we're sending business to business text messages, going in between all these apps. You know, it's something that we're used to, but I'll tell you, a lot of people are losing a lot of time. They could become more efficient. The cost of this constant switching is taxing. And we read a recent article from the Harvard Business Review. They did a study. It was pretty sobering. And it was the fact that employees can switch between 22 different apps nearly 1,200 times a day. Like, let that sink in. That is a lot.
That is a lot. And I think subconsciously you're not even aware of that, Dave.
Oh, I know. And they call it the toggling tax. The
tax like a pay tax, right? Like a penalty tax.
Like a penalty tax. And you know what? It does. It takes away from productivity. It increases stress. It's undermining your focus, because moving from email into, you know, a spreadsheet, even if it's just a couple of seconds, you know, it's 2 different formats. You're looking at data differently, so it can slow people down. But this is the deal. Here comes Global Teck Worldwide, right? They've been in business for over 2 decades, with specializations within business communications. They've mastered the art of unifying communication tools from voice to SMS, email, CRM systems, and more. They reduce context switching, and it unleashes a more efficient and focused workforce. It's a game changer.
Mm-hmm.
In this age of optimization, efficiency isn't just a dream, it's your reality with Global Teck Worldwide. So book an appointment and talk with Global Teck about your needs. Find them at global-tech.com, or you can find the link in our video description below. So check out global-tech.com to learn more and optimize your efficiencies.
Thanks, Dave, for sharing that. You know, something else I failed to mention about Global Tech when we started this whole thing is that it came out of the .com bubble bursting. And so I started that in my kitchen, and I was really at the lowest point of my life when that happened. You know, I was let go, like a lot of people, and, you know, there's a lot of people going through this right now as well. And that's why I want to mention this, is that you could be at your lowest point and not even realize that the best thing that's going to happen to you is around the corner. And I would have never imagined, I wouldn't have believed that 21 years ago, that being let go was probably the best thing that could have happened to me. I couldn't have uttered those words back then. There was no way for me to know, yeah, it's going to be like this for the next 20 years. But it really was. And that allowed me to then kind of look around, because I couldn't get a job, Dave. I really couldn't. There was so many telecom people around looking for a job. And one day, a couple of boxes sitting in my closet turned into what would begin Global Teck Worldwide journey. Luckily had a client that said, yeah, I've got stuff. And not only did they want what I had, but they said, you don't have enough. We want more. And then that's when the light bulb went on. I think there's a business here, because I was just looking to get rid of this stuff. So,
right.
So you never know when the best opportunity of your lifetime is around the corner. And I just wanted to share that for anybody who's at that low point in your life. Have hope, dream, and try to work your hardest to make those things come true. Dave, let's jump right into it when we're talking about this episode. But you know, before we jump into it, there's somebody that we got to acknowledge and give some big props. I want to give big props to Helen Polisi, who was on our last podcast. But, you know, we ran out of time with her, and she said, oh, we got to do part 2. And it almost sounded like we got to do a 3-parter with her. But if you don't know who Helen Polisi is, she is a huge success on TikTok. She gave us some massive tips on how to approach talking into a camera. For example, like, you know, she said, you know, talk like if you're talking to somebody sitting right next to the camera, or one person. That to me was like, boop,
right,
eye-opening. So big props to Helen. Helen, part 2. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait.
Hey, and she also does a podcast with her daughter called Yours Truly, which I just subscribed to earlier today. So it's a duet. We got a mother-daughter team. They have a full season of podcasts out there, and they're starting to do some more. So very cool. And I wish you guys the best of luck with those endeavors.
Absolutely, Helen. We're rooting for you and your daughter. Thank you very much for coming on. I've learned a lot, and I can't wait for the next round. All right. So, like I said earlier, check out part 1 if you haven't. Otherwise, we're going to jump right into it, Dave. Let's talk about what we came here for those that are reselling. If you're reselling, doing retail arbitrage, you're going to want to listen up here. One of the things is, as we're putting this together, I thought really long and hard, Dave, about when it comes to selling or reselling on Amazon. If you're selling other brands, you're selling name brands, it is very hard to do and be a 7 or 8 figure seller. But if you're doing some of these things that we're doing and we're going to share with you, I think you can get there. And one of the things that, to me, when I look back on our journey of selling on Amazon and reselling, is that you have to be a little different. You have to think a little bit outside the box. And so you have to look at it as what can you bring to Amazon that is unique and that other folks that are selling. So if you're selling, you know, just throw a brand name out there. If you're selling Bose, for example, or some other name brand on Amazon, if you are selling against hundreds of other sellers, and the difference between you and the other seller is only a price where, you know, you have the buy box, you can lose that buy box tonight, in the next hour. All they need to do is drop it a couple of pennies below what you're selling it, or they're putting into FBA, which also, for some reason, when you're FBA and you're not, if you're not selling FBA, you're going to have to sell at a much lower price than the seller that is on the buy box at FBA. Amazon has some weird rules. I don't know all of it, but I know that that's the case. So one of the things that I really want to talk about, Dave, is, that difference maker. If you are going to succeed on Amazon, the first thing you have to command is that product or category that you're planning on offering. You got to know where some of the holes are. And that for us was what really helped us get our mojo on Amazon, because Amazon is not like selling on any other platform. It's not, it really is not, has its own rules, the way people engage, the customers, and knowing the market gaps or gaps in the market for that product can really propel you further when it comes to selling a product. And that's what allowed us to establish a differentiator. I'll give you an example. So in our industry, a lot of times products are sold separately. Everything it tends to be sold separately, but customers prefer things to come all together. As you know, if you've bought a cell phone in the last 10 years, there aren't any more power adapters in nearly all. They just come with a cable. So if you're selling a cell phone, iPhone, doesn't matter what brand, most of them don't have it. But if you put it in the box or you sold it to the customer with the charger, a lot of folks want that. I don't want to click around all over the place looking for a charger. Just give me the whole damn thing. And that's kind of the approach that we started looking at. What things are missing that customers buy separately, or are the manufacturer not doing that would be a kick-ass solution if sold together or complementary? Because I guarantee you, Dave, most sellers that are just reselling, whether they're doing retail arbitrage or they're just reselling a brand name, they are not taking that approach when they're selling on Amazon.
Right. And as resellers, it is somewhat of a level playing field in respect to cost of the product. So if we were to take a look at the brands that we sell, if we were to take a look at our competitors, more or less, I mean, I know that there is obviously an exception to the rule, but we're all buying it at around the same cost.
Mm-hmm.
So if everyone is at the same price, and if you don't want to compete at being the lowest price, and shame on the folks. I mean, I could never quite understand that. Just lowballing everybody else. Where's the value in that? But we have seen that, and a lot of those types of resellers they're no longer here. Can't survive at 5 points over cost. You're not really bringing much to a client. So the holes that we identified,
Nor
it wasn't.
profitability, Dave.
Yeah, and very. Did you say vulnerability?
Profitability.
Oh,
If you're selling at
profitability.
five points over cost, you're not making much money, and you probably are not going to survive long on the platform on that.
Yeah, exactly. And if you happen to find a few pallets of product that you got at clearance prices, so you could still maintain your margins, you could still sell at a lower price, like you said, that's not the long term. That's not going to keep you in long term, because that supply of low cost products might certainly dry up. So you had to get creative, with the holes.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, and the other thing that I've seen, that we've been on Amazon for quite some time, is that m- going the extra mile when it comes to planning out your catalog pays dividends, because it takes a lot of effort. If, let's say, you're putting in, like the cell phone example, you're putting the accessories to get that executed. It sounds simple. It's a simple strategy, right? But to execute that and make sure the product is at FBA, which is the way to go. If you're selling this as just purely drop shipping it from your warehouse via Amazon, and then to the customer, you're not going to get nearly as many sales as if you put that into the FBA program. And that would be one of the first things I would say you want to do. So to execute on that, you either have to have that warehouse yourself, where they're doing it, or if you're doing it yourself. And then if you're scaling up and you find some success doing that, then you may need a partner in the way of a warehouse, or what we call 3PL provider, that can do that for you if you don't have your own warehouse. And so executing on that at scale will take some skill because it involves you getting the product plus the accessory or accessories, bundling it in a packaging that looks presentable, nice, that doesn't fall apart when it goes to Amazon, that doesn't fall apart when Amazon puts it in its own boxes and delivers it. So all of that execution deters much of the competition when we're talking about selling on Amazon. So that's why for us, it's been one of those keys to being on the platform. And then, we switch it up. We test and experiment what works better than other things. What's the best way to get product delivered so that it takes up the least amount of space? Because trying to think about that profitability question is, can I do this, make money? Can I be profitable? Because they're all along the way, whether it's the extra step to put the extra accessories in the box and then have the extra fees because you have a little bit slightly larger box. Maybe you have a slightly higher price point. All of these things are things to consider as you're executing these things because they're all could be friction points for your team as you're trying to do this.
And what do they say? If it's easy, everyone would be doing it. So there's some laziness that we see out there on Amazon for sure.
Yeah, because people like our guest Helen, she told us that story about passive income, right? And do not buy the story of passive income when it comes to Amazon. The most successful sellers, the 7 and 8 figure and 9 figure sellers that are on the platform, and those that have sold their companies outright after being successful, they didn't get there from being passive about their business, not one. And we've talked to a lot of successful sellers. Dave, I haven't run across one yet that's told me, I love spending my days on Cayman Islands and phoning it in and having margaritas. That may be a vacation. Okay, cool. Vacation mode. And totally legit. But when it comes to the daily operation of the business, haven't met one yet. Maybe it exists. Maybe it exists. But the majority of these folks that are killing it and crushing it are not sitting at St. Bart's being served beautiful cocktails or mocktails.
Yeah, I've always wondered, when I hear stories like that, it's like, well, I know the expectations of the clients, and when I think about just on a customer service level with communication, we have to get back to clients within a certain period of time, or else that hurts our seller rating. And it could potentially, they could lock our account for doing that. So when I hear about passive income, I think about the attention that we give to the clients every day. Every day there's messages, they need tracking, they don't know where the package is, something had happened. It still requires a lot of human touch to it. So it can't really be a passive type thing because we're obligated to communicate back to clients when they have questions or concerns or comments, whatever it might be.
And that's exactly what Helen had mentioned to us. That was the she said she sold out of the umbrellas.
Yeah.
And then she was like, well, wow, we could do this, right? We could sell this stuff. And come to find out that you do need a support team. You do need follow up. You do need to have contact with Amazon, which for Amazon, come on, man. Y'all could get support better. That's all I'm going to say about that. But all of these back end operational logistics things that will throw a loop in your game plan if you are not prepared for those could be almost diabolical in derailing your efforts of selling on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
And so Helen, I appreciate you sharing that story because there are a lot of folks that have tried and decided to throw in the towel because it does take a mastery, and we're going to jump into mastery a little bit later of the platform and mastering some of these different concepts that are absolutely part of getting further along in Amazon. Dave, the other thing as we were talking about this earlier is that if you're selling a product, doesn't matter what product, you came from working with some of these manufacturers that we end up working with.
Right.
And
right.
It offers a window into the psychology of the reps that work at the manufacturer. And I think we should share that with our audience because understanding the motivation of those folks that are on the other side of the table, the reps, the account managers for these manufacturers, gives us an understanding into how to best use that leverage as a reseller.
Yeah. So I've worked for some of these brands that we're currently partnered up with today. And, as account managers and salespeople, we all have lofty quotas. Year over year growth has always been pretty aggressive. And when I was sitting in those seats, I can remember all the time. So we're a channel organization. So we work in support of our resellers and distributors. One reseller, of course, is Global Teck. So your competitors at the time. Within the sales role, we would have people that would contact us would need these low dollar items. They needed some ear cushions. They needed a $15 cable. They needed windscreens for microphones and things like that. And it was the hardest thing to sell. It was the hardest thing to have a reseller sell to the customer. Resellers didn't want to sell these very low dollar items. It took a lot of effort to sell $5, $15, little tiny accessory. But the clients have this commercial product and they need this little piece to make it work. And I remember having conversations with some of my coworkers, and we said, one of us needs to open up a company that just sells accessories, because every day multiple reps would get phone calls from clients and they needed these items. And we ended up finding ourselves having 15, 20-minute conversations with people to go find the piece, like physically find it, find an envelope, find a label, address it, stick it all together, and put it in the mail. And when you're carrying a $5+ million quota and 20 minutes of your time just got robbed and happening multiple times a week, I mean, the idea was we need to either find a partner that is willing to work with clients like this for low dollar items, or someone should do it themselves. And, at that time, we didn't have a solution. Even the brands didn't, the manufacturer didn't have a solution to that
You guys
problem.
weren't set up for these types of sales, really. And it sounds like you weren't even incentivized. Your incentive structures weren't like, so why should I sell a $15 item? I'm not going to get paid for it.
Right. Well, you would get paid for it. That
Oh, you would.
$15 item would certainly whittle away at your $5 million nut that you had to hit.
It's gonna make a teeny bitty dent into it.
And it was indirect sales. So we're working with channel partners and we're trying to build relationships and rapport with our channel partners. And we liked to bring qualified leads. If I could bring you a qualified lead in your territory,
bring me a lead with a school that wants 100 units of, a $200 item, then one that wants a $1 or $2 item.
You know what? Even if it's 15 or 20 headsets that are $200-$300 headsets, if it's qualified, that's a nice lead. But imagine if you got a phone call 3-4 times a week from me, Rolando, I got a lead for you for a couple of ear cushions. It's like, ugh. Great lead, guys. I don't have time. I really wish I don't. But you turned this into an opportunity. And it was one of the reasons I was so attracted to the Global Teck business when we first started working together, because you were already doing what I said. Somebody needs to exploit this. Somebody really needs to take charge. And it's resulted in a lot of activity for Global Teck. You can tell the story about the private label and things, but
get back to what we're talking about, understanding the market and the gaps. Customers were buying things, again, everything's sold separately. There's probably other industries where a lot more stuff comes, everything in one, right? But given that there's a lot of items sold separately at the bottom of each thing that's sold, the customer, and again, I'll just go back to Helen, or even Nick has told us that, like, they're listening to what the customers are saying. What are they saying on the comments? Like, oh, I bought this and I had to go get this other thing. You see 2 or 3 or 4 like that, you're like,
right.
Why aren't they doing this? And today, Dave, even today, these same manufacturers still sell that thing. Even though they know customers want everything all in one. there is a logistical challenge to making it happen. And so when you overcome that, no matter what industry you're selling a product for, and you can overcome that logistical challenge of delivering product A, B, and C in one box to a customer, you have happier customers and repeat customers. And repeat customers are profitable customers because now you don't have to spend ads. You don't necessarily have to, go back and, trying to find the new prospect cost money, even if you're a reseller. And we're going to get into ads in a moment. But the fact that there's a gap, there was a gap there. Also was a headache, I think a pain point. I don't know if it was you or somebody else had shared earlier with me. Um, about this being a pain point. You're like, we're not set up to sell these accessories and they take up so much time relative to our quota. It's one of those things where if you're reselling, building allies at that company is one of the things you absolutely want to do. And it's hard to do because if you're just starting out and you're not on the radar screen because your sales are too low, it just, that may not happen. But even
Right.
introducing yourself, say, who's the rep in my territory and getting to know who they are, reach out to them on LinkedIn and say, hey, I'm getting ready to do XYZ. I know that you're the territory manager for this area. I would love to have a coffee with you. That can open the door to something else down the line. And when an opportunity presents itself, like you were talking about, Dave, who is that territory manager going to reach out to you because you've built some trust with, right?
Mm-hmm.
And over time, not only have you built trust, if you then show them the money, right? Wow, I'm seeing that you are growing. I see that you're selling more this year than you sold last year. Now you're on the radar screen of that territory manager, and they will reach out to you because you will not be invisible at that point.
Yeah, and I think for us, what we've been able to do with some of our partnerships is they see us online, they see us in the social media space, and we have a strategy. I believe we have a strategy unlike many of unlike a lot of the competitors that are out there. When you have an ally in the space and they see you as a unique partner, it's ways where you can, we've been able to successfully get some marketing dollars, from some of these brands because they're like, well, these guys are doing things that are much different. We can get we can get technology, we can get products from any of our vendors at any time, for making videos. But you can then take that to the next level. Once you've built some relationships, it's like you can actually get some MDF funds to do specific marketing types of campaigns to kind of stir up the marketplace and help create demand. And you can
Demo
also do that for
units.
specific products that the manufacturer is trying to sell.
Yeah, and you remind me of one of the manufacturers, actually a couple of them now, as they're launching a product or developing it, they will call us to get our feedback. And that's when you've really captured people's attention at that organization. Because one of the things as a hardware manufacturer, no matter what type of hardware, you always want customer feedback so that you're on the right track or the wrong track. And at that point where they're reaching out to you and saying, "Hey, I'm sending you a beta unit or an alpha unit because we think you guys bring a unique perspective to what we're doing," you've got the trust of the right people, whether that's their engineering team or sales team or even their marketing team for that matter. So building allies is something that can take time, but it pays dividends. Because what happens, Dave, some of those folks like yourself, they start off at one company, move to the next one, and you know who they call? Hey, Rolando, I'm over here at XYZ. I know we worked together really good when I was over at that other company. Or what are you doing with this product? Is that on your radar screen? And
Right.
that's happened over and over and over again because you've built that rapport and that trust, and people know you've demonstrated a way to sell the product. And as a rep, like you're taking, Dave, you got a quota. Who do I need to talk to right now so I can help meet that quota?
What I think was interesting about Global Tech Worldwide is when you got your start, you came from one of these brands and then you went off on your own. You knew who the competition was. You already knew
Hmm.
who they were.
Yeah.
You're an athlete by nature. You love competition. You got into this because you knew that you could, I don't want to say crush them, But it's nice to jump into an arena. Like, I mean, same thing with me. I was always working with different manufacturers. Now I joined you here on that reseller level, and we come in with confidence because we know these guys. We already know their strategies, and they haven't even changed their strategies. But we
Hmm.
know the competition. We know the landscape. We know where they're kind of falling short. I was telling a story earlier. There's a partner of ours who successful reseller in our space. They're not online. It's not a social media play. Close relationships, but they have to contact every customer that places an order that doesn't include this adapter. They pick up the phone and they call that customer back to just to make sure that that wasn't something that they overlooked. When they told me that story, I said, "How often are you doing that?" And she's like, 20 times a day.
Mm.
And, and they're talkers. They're a competitor of ours too. So I know how much time they're spending just catching up, shooting shit, with clients. Had to pick up the phone because of an adapter. If they don't do that, they'll have to spend more time on the back end, but they haven't been able to find some automated way to include not just the adapter, but the right adapter for the application. Their answer to that challenge is pick up the phone, call them,
Have
and
a
find
human do
out.
it.
And that it's like, hey, good. I'm glad they're doing it because they're a competitor of ours, and we don't have to play that game.
Yeah, it's technology, using technology to your advantage, and that's been, I use this story. I've told this story before. One of the ways that we could have grown was to say, we're going to have our own warehouse. We're going to, put a lot of manpower in it, in the business. Or, you know, I can't be everywhere. I'd love to go travel to every customer in every state, but physically it's a toll. And
Mm.
that's the way that most business was being done. I got to go on site and, sell this to a customer. I thought, well, you know what if customers could see the products we offer on, this is way before Amazon now. This was in the early days in 2002. And what if they could see the products and they could buy it themselves? And there really was no add to cart. It was like, call us with this ID number so we know what you want, and or fax in your order. But the same holds true today. Customers are very savvy and they have tools at their fingertips so they can get at what they want in a way that makes sense to them. And it's our job to figure out, are we delivering to the customer what they want? And the moment you take your eye off the ball on that is the moment you start losing. And one of our previous guests, Nick Gazar, who worked at Amazon, mentioned that they actually use the word customer obsession.
Mm-hmm.
And as you grow, I would even say that that has to be part of the mix, is that you want to keep your ratings on Amazon. Amazon rates every seller from, I guess, 0. Right? Whoever would be 0 is probably doing a crappy job, all the way to 100. And you can easily check that by going to, there's a link on every product page that can link you to the seller
Yeah.
who's selling the product. And it will show you what they're rated: 0, 10, 40, 50, 90, 100. For whatever reason, Amazon doesn't show their own ratings because they do sell on behalf of brands, but they don't show
Interesting.
that. I would love to know what that number is. But you can actually see that. And for us, we've maintained somewhere in the 90s for
Yeah.
most of our journey on Amazon. And it's a really difficult thing to do, Dave. And you oversee the team that works with customers, and in our obsession as well over making sure a customer has what they want. If they don't, some crap happens all the time, right? There's no perfect world. And in making sure, okay, hey, can we not have this happen again?
Right.
We had a goof up on the labels at the warehouse, and and that stuff happens. Okay, we put a process in place to make sure that doesn't happen
Mm-hmm.
ever again, because we don't want nasty emails to come through and angry customers. So
There's a lot of transparency when you're selling on Amazon. I think you would call it sharp elbows. There's a lot of, so our competitor, and we have competitors that are out there. I'm sure they're checking us out. Hey, competition, I'm checking you guys out too. And you're not leveling up to us. You're not in that 90%. And there's more transparency that's coming out on Amazon, but I find it um, comical where some of these multinational brands themselves are below a 70% customer
Mm, yeah.
satisfaction
Yeah.
rating.
Well, I think like Nick told us, the former Amazon guy that we had on here a few weeks ago, he said, for a lot of companies, it's a sideshow.
Mm,
And e-commerce being a sideshow. So they don't dedicate the resources that they would for a large account like a Walmart. And Amazon is in that respect and can be for especially multinational brands. And having come from that world myself working at Altria, I can vouch that, yeah, we had a team of people over in Bentonville that all they would do is service that customer. So Amazon does require the resources. And Dave, one of the other things that, if we're talking about Amazon, I want to jump into the next aspect here, and that is the Amazon game. It is totally different than anything else that you could do as a business. And you really need to dive in all in to really get to that 7 to 8 figure and beyond, because Amazon has its own rules, its own way. It's got a unique set of clients when they shop on Amazon, both the business side of a client as well as the consumer side, and understanding how all these levers work, because Amazon is like nothing else. So I'd liken Amazon to the game of Monopoly, but the digital version of that. In Monopoly, you have many pieces on the board. When you land on those pieces, you pay, whoever you're competing against. And so on Amazon, it is a game of digital real estate. The more of the board, the more of the digital board you cover, the more money you can potentially make. So for
mhm.
example, so if you're on page one, how can I get as high as possible on page one, not just organically, but with ads?
Yep.
And then do I have other complementary products that can also be part of page one when a customer is searching for the type of product that I sell? The more products that you have that are relevant for that keyword that can cover page one, the more likely you're going to succeed. Because as Nick had mentioned to us, 90%, Dave, 90%, a staggering 90% of the time, people only stay on page one. So that 10%, that action that happens beyond page one, it's a tiny, tiny fraction. And with more and more ads covering up page one, it makes it harder to reach page one solely on organic placement.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to have that as your goal. If page one is not your goal, you're not going to enjoy the success that you would have as like folks that are on page one. And the same goes for the digital real estate that's on your listing. Look, on your listing, there's every distraction. So the product page that has your product, that is a distraction. There's ads above, there's ads on the side, there's ads on the other side, there's ads in the middle, there's ads everywhere trying to pull your attention. Other customers reviewed similar products like yours. And that's so the goal here on the product page, again, is understanding that's the game. Okay, Amazon's about that game. Digital real estate. How can I cover as much page with more information about my product that I'm selling rather than being squeezed into a really small section of just the images and description and so forth? A plus content, video, virtual bundles. There's a lot of other things that you could do to stretch that page out so it's more of you versus more of your competitive ads. So that is the first key I want you to understand. Amazon is all about digital real estate. Now, we were just for a moment, Dave, let's just depart for a second. If you're a brand and you're listening to this, you can also take advantage of this digital real estate, but you want allies. If you have allies in the way of authorized partners that are on the platform selling on your behalf, now you're able to maybe blanket page one and two. So you've covered way more real estate than, let's say, a competitive brand that's already doing that understands that. And that's one of those keys. If you're a brand and you're listening to this, and you're looking at maybe having authorized resellers, you have to really think about it well, because programs for resellers by manufacturers, and we've talked to a lot of manufacturers, they don't always work out well because the authorized program doesn't incorporate some of the nuances that come with selling on Amazon. And sometimes those programs go south really quick. And we've been around long enough with some of these manufacturers to know that some programs have come and gone multiple times because of this, because of the way Amazon is and the way the Amazon game that works. So that's what I wanted to say about that, Dave. Anything you wanted to add about the digital real estate on Amazon?
Can you imagine playing Monopoly and every time you played it, the rules changed slightly?
Oh,
no. And they changed slightly for the house.
What are you talking about, Dave? So, like, there's no such thing. What?
Yeah. What? Well, that's, I agree with you. And, you've taught me a lot about Amazon. It really is a game of, like, they're preying on buyers' ADD. They put shiny objects all around. They want you to get lost. Before I was an Amazon seller with you, when I would shop onto Amazon, I didn't understand. I was just distracted. Hey, look, squirrel, kind of moving around and always clicking. And I would kind of forget that I was originally looking for a great speakerphone to use on Microsoft Teams, and I would just kind of get lost and I wouldn't even realize why I was suddenly looking at, vintage video game. It doesn't matter. But the rules for the Monopoly, those rules have not changed. They've given it a facelift over the years. They've tried to bring it into into this new world. But Amazon, those rules are constantly changing. If your ear is not to the ground, if you're not paying attention to the changes, you are going to get lost. I think about at the height of the pandemic, we used to have weekly meetings, and it turned into every 24 hours, every 22 hours, every 20 hours, we have to meet because it was just daily changes. So not only is it a virtual game of Monopoly and virtual real estate on page one, but those rules are forever changing.
Yeah, there is no, I mean, if you would have listened to a podcast from before the pandemic on what to do on Amazon, you'd have found yourself today probably in trouble. You could incentivize people to give you reviews. That is a major, major no right now. You cannot do that. You used to be able to get away with having inserts that said, if you're happy, give us a 5-star. If you're not, give us a call. Amazon does not like that. That's a major, major no. You used to be able to send communications directly to the customer in the way of calling them. They gave you the phone number right as you could call them. Hey, customer XYZ, it looks like you're unhappy and you give us a bad review. If I helped you, would you change that to a 5-star review? That's also a major no, and you can't really do that anymore. And you used to be able to do that via email. So Amazon kept restricting, and then eventually they're like, no, we don't want you to communicate with customers. And that's kind of changed recently. They've put some caveats on how to do that, but things evolve very fast so that, you're right, Dave. Almost every week we are getting some new notification about modifying something old, something you can't do, something that's now required. And it requires you to have your ear to the ground and be in the trenches, so to speak, on what's going on.
Yeah, 100%. When calling customers, I forgot that we used to get their actual telephone numbers back in the day. So if there was an issue with a product or a shipping address, whatever it might be, I don't think we were ever calling to try to get a review updated or things like that. Generally, it was something with just to check on something like a shipping address. That's kind of a common thing.
Sometimes that was the most common. Shipping address come through would not be the correct one or wouldn't be validated in the shipping system.
I will tell you. So we do customer satisfaction reviews. So we all of our calls are recorded, and I was listening to some calls from our team out to customers. And when our team reaches out to customers to verify an address, just something as simple as verifying an address, they appreciate it. The customer is like, I've never had anyone as an Amazon seller or Amazon, because sometimes they don't realize they're sellers. They think everything's just coming from Jeff Bezos himself. But I hear this like, wow, guys, like, thank you so much for calling, because it's important that I get this product for my team. And if we didn't follow up with that, we wouldn't have caught it. It would have come back to our warehouse. It would have been a customer satisfaction issue. It could have resulted in a low score, a low rating. But when I'm listening to these calls, the customers appreciate it through and through. They appreciate it. But if we say the wrong thing, we will be held accountable for that, because the calls are being recorded by Amazon. And I'm sure there's some sort of AI that's listening to it, scanning it for keywords.
It's going through the system. Yeah. So today, for those folks that are not familiar with that, is that every order that gets sent through the system, through Amazon, when you place an order and you hit add to cart and you go through, Amazon provides the address along with a virtual telephone number that can reach the customer, not a real one. And it disappears after, I think, 30 days. That information is gone. So you don't have even the ability to do that via telephone.
Right.
So go ahead, Dave. I just wanted to provide color around that.
So when you're calling people on those telephone lines, it's being viewed, it's being monitored by Amazon. So just make sure that you're playing by the rules
Indeed.
of the game.
That is correct. So that's, the game has changed. No more calling them direct, because they're afraid you're going to take them off the platform and encourage them to sell on your own website. When I'm sure they have some cause and reason for that, but we love it when people buy on Amazon. It just makes our life easier as well as theirs. Speaking of making your life easier, Dave, the other thing that I think for advanced sellers, again, this episode's for those advanced sellers, is understanding that Amazon is not just a monopoly, a digital monopoly, but there's a playground. And in order to play the monopoly game, like what we're talking about, you have to go through this playground. I'll call it a playground of sorts. And to get into that playground, step number one, if you haven't done this today, make sure you are signed up for Amazon's brand registry. So you have a trademark, no matter what it is, and that is what you use on Amazon. You register that trademark, and that unlocks the kingdom. That allows you to just walk in the door into the playground that Amazon has with a bunch of toys that are not available. So now if you're a reseller, you're like, well, how do I do that, Dave? I'm reselling Bose and iPhones and all the rest. And you can have a way to do this, but you need to go and get your own brand trademarked in order to be able to get into this playground, because brand registry unlocks a bunch of keys that you will not have when you're not registered or part of this brand registry program. So now you can play with the big girls and the big boys that are in the playground.
So is that just a matter of having your brand trademarked?
Absolutely. Getting your brand trademarked will give you access. So there's a whole process on doing that. And once you go through the process and you're approved on through the brand registry folks, which is the folks that approve the trademark, they will validate that it's an actual real trademark with a patent office. And then once you come out on, and they have something called the Amazon Accelerator Program. So whether if you have a lawyer or somebody else, or you don't, you can go through the Amazon Accelerator process in order to get that through Amazon for the brand registry. But once you have brand registry, you have access to analytics. You have access to a whole suite of tools that weren't available, so that you can see which products are popping, which keywords are the best, what Amazon recommends products, for you to, have more of, and a bunch of other things. You'd be able to put A+ content on your own pages. Let me back up by saying that the thing with selling on your own brand, which is kind of what we ended up pivoting to, it allowed us to do things that we normally couldn't do. So again, the brand registry piece, We realized that there's a gap in the accessories side of things, so we
Mhm.
made our own. We went out and got them designed. We had them manufactured for us, and it really changed the game on how we sold on Amazon because it allowed us to compete in a way that all the other resellers were not competing. All the other resellers are basically selling the brand name as is. Again, standalone, separate. We're able to, complement those sales. So even our own competitors, Dave, will buy our own products with the products they sell. So although we're selling to customers and businesses, some of those businesses are our own competitors, and they'll end up buying those accessories to sell alongside their own product. And sometimes, which is comical to me, Amazon will recommend our accessories alongside in the frequently bought together piece
Yep.
with some of those other items. So it's kind of a way to get your name, your brand tied in to other products that you're reselling or other competitors or even the brand themselves. That happens too, where our accessories get frequently bought together with a listing from the manufacturer themselves.
Mhm.
So once you get to a point where you're comfortable and you know where the gaps in the market are, that's when you start making this move, this private label move to what can I add here that's missing that we can make money on. But you only know that once you're on the platform and you've been selling for a while, because now you know these are the best products, these are the slow ones, and these are the most likely where we're going to have the most success.
You're doing something right when your competitor is sourcing products from you. This happened to us many times. Many times. So we think we've established a hole in the marketplace with some accessory pieces. Um, we private label some of these accessories. We put them in bags that have our branding all over it. Now we love kicking ass and we love the competition. We welcome the competition. And you know
Yes.
what? It's a small enough world. If our competitors are watching this, you know exactly who I'm talking to. Listen, it's just business, but there is nothing better than cashing a check that your competitor sent to you. That's great. That's a great feeling. Taking your competitor's money. There's also nothing. What does it do? It also validates that what we think we're doing right, damn it, we are doing that right. If we
Hmm.
weren't, they wouldn't be sourcing it from us. And
Hmm.
then the third piece that is just so satisfying is picture your competition buying product from you and having to take it out of custom packaging that has your branding all over it multiple times because they can't send it to their customer with our branding on it. So as much as, I sometimes want to stop those orders. You've kind of taught me, you're like, Dave, what would you rather do? Not take money from your competition or take money from your competition? So for those of you that have competed against us and you've sourced from us, thank you. We appreciate it. We hope you
Yes,
come
that's
back
right.
and do more business with us.
Oh, I love it.
It's a
And
good feeling.
and that happens, Dave, because you understand the gaps. Again, these
Mm,
are hidden opportunities. If I were to call it that, these are gaps in the market, in the product category that you're in the industry, where you're just like, there's a hard product to get, and it's been that way for a long time. Or this is the only game in town. These two or three sellers or these two or three brands, and you understand that if you were the number three or number two guy, that you eventually moved yourself into the number two position on page one, you could, wow, the sales would begin. That comes with time, that comes with knowledge, that comes also with understanding how these big mammoth multinationals operate. There's gaps in all of them. And
mhm.
over the years, oh, wow, what if we did that? And you take calculated risks. I would say dip your toe in that water. Go slow at first. Take that calculated risk. See how it goes. Because once we started that track, we found, oh, yeah, let's go and launch another one and another one and another one. and some have come out better than others. And now, we're not the only game in town that's selling this. So it makes you become sharper over time, because the success on Amazon is emulated and copied many times over.
Mhm.
And when you start experiencing success and your volume starts growing, your sales starts growing, guaranteed you're going to be on the radar screen for the manufacturers in a good way, for the competition in a bad way.
Right.
And so you can't avoid that once you start growing. So you got to always be curious. Like, Dave, you're talking about our accessories, but I don't know if folks realized in the packaging for the accessories, we went green on our packaging.
Right.
We're like, all right, so
Search.
everybody's selling accessories now. Big deal. What if we went with green packaging, sustainable, compostable packaging? Nobody's doing that in our space.
Right. So, in respect to our green packaging, sustainable packaging, I was surprised to learn how individuals are talking about their reduction of carbon footprint and commuting into work. So if folks are trying to reduce their carbon footprint and they find a brand on Amazon that is endorsing that with sustainable packaging, you know what, that might be, another reason. It's value to them to do business with, to do business with us, that we're doing that started to do that. Sorry, that was a roundabout way to get right back to where we are.
Well, also that, Dave, that the Amazon, again, it's all about digital real estate. So if you have a green package and it's certified green, and we have some already that already have the green packaging or sustainable, I can't remember the exact badge. That badge shows up on the product listing itself and on the search. So again, if it's all about how can it take up just even a little bit more space. So now Amazon gives you a little bit more space in that search result if you have green packaging. And so it's great for the environment. But the benefit of that is that you can also, again, occupy more digital real estate. And for us, it was a distinguishing feature on top of the fact that we're pro-environment here,
Mhm.
right? So that's another example of taking just something to the next level. Okay, we're not the only game in town doing this anymore. How can we differentiate packaging? And I know of some folks like Norman Farrar, big props to Norman Farrar. He's got his own podcast as well. He talks about how packaging can make huge, huge difference. And in the grand scheme of things, it's a low cost way to increase your margin. So your product can seem more premium, or in the case of what we're doing, more green and sustainable. If you can do that, do it. It's not fast. It's not quick. It took us a while to really find the sources and all this other stuff and work out the logistics. But once it's done, it's done. And then it's just rinse, wash, repeat, or wash, rinse, repeat. Wash, rinse, repeat. So that's what I wanted to say about hidden opportunities. Look for them. They can pay off. Double down on them if you see them take off. Dave, anything else you wanted to add on hidden opportunities?
Nope.
All right. Now let's go into the last chapter here. Mastery of the Amazon game. This is for the wizards. Right? Right, Little John?
Yeah!
So, what are we talking about here with mastery of this game? Look, I've been selling online for 21 years, and Amazon by far is one of the most challenging things that I could have ever done in my life. When we didn't start off on Amazon, about year number 10 or so, we got into it. And really at the time, Dave, I remember that most of the manufacturers that we were reselling were not on the platform.
Mm.
They looked at it as like, who wants to sell? Because most of what we sell is in the business space.
True.
There are no real business customers on Amazon. And that was as far from the truth as possible. And today, as we record this, more businesses are on Amazon purchasing, procuring than ever before. And that's also been shared with us from folks that work at Amazon and past former Amazonians. And so as you are trying to master the game, for us, this is now our own team. Building a team is important. There are folks that are successful with having a team of 2 or 3. usually because they have their own private label. If you're a brand and you're listening to this and you're like, well, I can build it. Why am I not successful with 2 or 3? A totally different story when you're selling 1P into Amazon or you're a multinational brand. I'm reminded of a conversation I had with a very well-known cosmetic brand that everybody would recognize. I can't reveal their name, but this multinational brand had a lawyer and 2 other people that worked on the Amazon sales, so to speak, or the Amazon platform where their products were sold, and they were having a lot of problems with unauthorized and hijackers. And I told them, for the level of sales, for the exposure, and for the way the brand is, the number of different product lines they have, it's going to be very difficult for 2 people and 1 lawyer to keep up. The lawyer may, because there's some cases that require them, but the other 2 folks that are on there, like the logistics, the advertising, the unauthorized, the hijackers, you said, Dave, the constant change that is on Amazon. Today this is allowed, tomorrow is not. Then we're going to allow it again, but only in the new way. And then there's a new type of agreement, or your category has been changed, so these things are now required. All of that, if you don't have somebody that is on top of just the communication side, it will become totally difficult if you're just checking in once a month on what's happening on Amazon, where you have a team that's in the logistics, in the technology side of it, of streamlining how you operate on Amazon, in the customer support side, in the marketing side, on the social media side, legal as well. All of these pieces become important to having success on the Amazon if you're going to do this long term. If you're just looking for this in a couple of years and trying to bounce or doing it as a side hobby, don't worry about it. Go with your flow. A couple of years and out, or just using it as a side hustle. But if you are in this for the long game, 7, 8 figures or beyond, start thinking about a team. And it is the scariest thing, Dave, when you have to hire that first employee, no matter where they're located now, because of remote work, you can hire virtually from around the world. That's the most scary thing. But once you have that first, and then go number 2, 3, 4, and you start building out your team of people, you start seeing some amazing things happening. Right?
100%. And what we have for our teams are very specific roles and responsibilities related around Amazon. We don't have 2 people doing everything. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. I don't think we'd have over a 90% customer satisfaction rating if that were the case. We have the team of people doing the different aspects so that the customer is taken care of. We're playing by the rules. We're successful. We're on page 1. We're buying our ads. And it always blows me away that these partners that we work with that are also selling on Amazon will have an account manager that has 19 other accounts plus Amazon.
Uh-huh.
And I won't call out anyone by name, but Rolando, if we think about some of the relationships that we've had in the past that have had Amazon as one of their many roles and responsibilities, they've quit those organizations.
Yep.
You can't be successful.
That's real life, DJ. DJ
so it's
Khaled.
like people want to bring value to the organizations that they work with, and if they're stretched too thin, they're going to walk. And we've seen that. I'm thinking of 3 right now.
It's very easy to get overwhelmed, Dave, on Amazon. Even for us, there's some fires that happen, and if you're the only person responsible for putting out that fire, because sometimes, internally here, it's 2 or 3 people getting together collectively, to figure something out, especially if it's something more major, more involved. It makes it a little easier, instead of like you are the sole person responsible for responding, the plan of action, getting the follow-up done on and then following through, especially you got to submit a case on something with Amazon because they'll close a case. So here we go. If you are, let me Ori, Give me a pro tip.
Here comes a pro tip.
Pro tip. Advanced selling on Amazon requires that you have a streamlined workflow. Keeping that together is difficult, but with the right technology, that can be much easier. I highly recommend that if you are, scaling up and you want to keep your support cases and your project management together, use a software like ClickUp or something like that. Notion, there's many other out there, but that's going to help you stay on top of cases at Amazon. I know we use ClickUp, and we had an episode where we talked a lot of details about this. So go check that episode out where we talk about technology stack and how to take advantage of that. But essentially, project managed software like ClickUp can help you stay on top of these cases, because once you start selling like crazy, Dave, you're opening up tickets every single day. I know that's the case for us. Some good tickets, some bad, some sideways, some are, problems that happen because Amazon changed something and all of a sudden nobody got notified, or there's nothing in the community. Nobody put any record of it anywhere. And, so keeping track of all these tickets, if you don't have a system in place like a ClickUp, will become very messy. We did spreadsheets for the longest of time. Eventually, that became too burdensome and messy to keep track of. Email, totally the wrong place to keep track of Amazon cases. You want something that's built for something like that. ClickUp does a really good job, especially because you can actually get virtual emails. So you can include in your support cases that virtual email, and every time there's a piece of communication, it goes back into the project management under that task. You can look at it, you can date it, you can see what the communication was like, because it is terrible on email. And Dave, the one thing I don't like is that happens way too often. Some cases will get closed without a proper resolution.
Right.
It doesn't happen all the time, but it happens enough where if you did not know the case was closed and you go back a couple of days later, you're like, well, it's been past 48 hours. Now I got to reopen the whole thing and hopefully get somebody that'll understand what I'm talking about.
It's nice to have someone on your team that's dedicated to managing those cases.
Oh, that's another pro tip within itself. I got to tell you, if you're an advanced seller, you want to have somebody on your team that their sole responsibility, and this is the case for us. I can tell you because this is what we do. We have somebody on our team that is her sole job, is to manage these tickets, because as again, you grow, more money, more problems. Who said that? Was that Biggie or was that Puffy?
I think it's Puffy.
Bad boy. Bad boy. Bad boy.
I got to use that button finally. More money, more problems, and that's so true in every category, Dave. That no matter if I talk to a seller that's been wildly successful in toys and in supplements, in electronics, the more you sell, the more you're going to find that there's issues you're going to have to deal with. And so having a team in place, somebody that's dedicated to the tickets and support issues on Amazon, will serve you really well. Having that well documented as well. You're going to have times where if you don't have stuff documented, Amazon's going to throw you a firebomb in your lap. Everything's going to go on fire, and you don't have things documented to back up what you're doing, because that happens. Sometimes the manufacturers want to rub you out, or a competitor wants to rub you out.
Yep.
And if you don't have a good documentation system for what your activities are, invoices, and a whole bunch of other things, and maybe your own communications at Amazon, you don't have a lot of leg to stand on. And that also, what I would also say is that make sure you have somebody that can counsel you legally on issues on Amazon, because they will come up as you start selling more firebombs get thrown your way by competitors, by even the manufacturers. A new rep comes in, a new management team comes in, ownership has a whole new view on Amazon. And if you don't have your own stuff together, you don't have documents on what you've been promised by either the manufacturer or things that you have in place, it's just going to make it very difficult. And then having that bad boy, and having the legal advice from a well-seasoned Amazon attorney goes a really long way when the bad boy hits the fan. Because it does happen. When the bad boy hits the fan, it's scary sometimes, Dave, when you get some of these notifications, because Amazon's own bots went crazy, and it's happened to many sellers where I'm reminded of an example where Purina One was if you had Purina and the word one in your title, then and you were in the food category or pet food, your listings got blocked.
Was it or one?
Or
So
one.
it was using the word one
in the title. And so Stephen Pope, who came on our podcast, vouched for that. He said, because he's an agency, he has, I don't know, 300, 400, 500 clients. I don't know, remember the exact number. He said he had several clients that had this problem. The bots went crazy. And so having the wherewithal to understand what to do when that happens and your listings go down, because I didn't do anything. The word one could be used in many instances, but Purina One, who knows what happened with the bots, that they went crazy, and many other things like that happen. Having somebody in your corner giving you the right legal advice on how to respond to that is something that is super valuable and has worked well for us, because things happen, and without the right advice, sometimes you want to crawl in a hole and be like, geez, I'm going to throw in the towel. But with the right advice, you understand, you know what? This does not look right. This kind of community, or, your rights as a seller are XYZ, or a brand can and can't do the following to you. And if you don't have that information at your fingertips, or a phone call that you can make to somebody that understands the nuances, that understands the BSA, the Amazon Business Agreement, then you don't know. You can get taken advantage of over and over and over again.
Yeah, sometimes people will send out nasty grams from their attorneys, just hoping the person just gets intimidated and scared on the other side and closes up shop. So legal advice is such an important part to being successful on Amazon.
No doubt, no doubt. So I want to give big props to CJ and the folks over at Amazon Sellers Lawyers. You guys have done a bang up job. That's who we use. If you want to go check them out, check out CJ, give him a call. He'll help you out. If not, there's probably several others you can find on the internet, but that's just the guy we use because he's really good. The other piece, Dave, as mastery on Amazon also requires understanding that your competitors, we were talking a little bit about this, but the competitors will copy you. So what do you do when that happens? You have to stay sharp. You have to keep your eye on the ball. You have to follow the trends. Things aren't going to stay the same. When we started, a lot of the products that were sold mostly for phones that were on the desk.
Mm-hmm.
That's totally changed. Mm-hmm. The products now that that are sold to customers primarily are the wireless versions for mobile, and for wireless version for using it with a computer. Totally different environment. It's virtually the same-ish kind of product, but trends have changed. And if you're not on top of these type of customer preferences and trends, you can get left behind. And so that's why I say, information from 5 years ago about a podcast telling you how to sell on Amazon is probably very dated. And staying current and staying on top of the trends and preferences. And Amazon today gives you more information, as long as you're brand registered, gives you more information than they used to years ago about customer patterns on the products you sell. They tell you these are the keywords that are working. These are the keywords for your top products. This is your share of sales for a particular keyword. And this is how many sales can be attributed to the ads that you've run. All of these things put together. And I want to also give another shout out to Ritu Java, who came on the show and told us a lot about taking data from different places, which is, I think, the next frontier. Taking data, so brand analytics, Amazon ads, SEO, taking all of that data together to get patterns, to get information on where you can place your bets. And that's where I think the data is going. I hope we get to a point where the analytics can tell you this is the correlation between this and that. And this is the pattern that we've seen between these set of products and this price point. And then here's your profitability that's going to come out if you play this, right? And I think that's going to be I can't wait for when that can happen. That you can kind of cobble that together. But if you could do it in AI in a matter of seconds, you can make decisions like this.
Yep.
And that's really what you want on Amazon. You want to be able to make calculated, smart decisions faster than your competition. Because by the time they react, you're already on version 4 of what you're doing. They're reacting to your version 1.2.
It's true. Hey, Rolando, let me get your take on something here. So we were talking about how competitors can see you out there on the marketplace. What's your take on this new thing that was rolled out by Amazon late last month, late September 2023, with sales trends on particular products or listings? Not an exact number, but it would say we started with our recent guest Nick. We were looking at Tide, and we saw a few different listings, and one of them said 20,000 sold in the last 30 days.
Yeah.
It hasn't trickled down into the products that we're selling yet. I'm assuming it will eventually.
Yeah, they're probably testing it on categories, different categories.
Right. Like, what's your take on that?
I think it's interesting that they're coming really close to telling you this product sold 100 units in the last hour, right? They're trying to be careful to not give too much, but this is more information than we've ever had as a seller on or a reseller on the platform. And as a consumer, if you're just putting the consumer side, that kind of gives you some validation, some street cred. Oh yeah, it's like what Expedia used to do, where 100 people have looked at this booking, in the last hour or something like that, or 10 people booked in the last minute or whatever, this flight. Is trying to give you validation that you're going to make a good decision because others have already done that. And so I don't know where it's going to go. They could possibly say, the amount of sales that day. That would be even more interesting because flights are and some of these big Booking.com and Expedia, they do some of this. So could they do it? Absolutely. They have the numbers to do it. They have the data to do it. I think it's going to make things interesting for those inquisitive and curious sellers, resellers on the platform that want to understand, does this product really sell? And then what do I do about it? So what if it sells? Can I find a way to creatively either compete against it? You can compete on price, or you bringing a unique proposition to the table where their product may be $10 and you're $11. We've done this, Dave. We sell a product, we sell an accessory that is double the price that you would find it elsewhere online. And that product keeps selling more every month in the hundreds. I think we're up to 1,000 units, somewhere there a month on this particular product. And it's not the cheapest one anywhere on Amazon. It's not the cheapest product of the competitive type products.
Right.
And not cheaper than what you'd find it on Google. But the fact that we've optimized the landing page, the product page, we've optimized the look and feel of the product. We provide a ton of value with the videos. We've provided a bunch of really nice A+ content, which is the imagery on the product page. We've optimized for the search of it. All of these things lend itself to credibility, trust. All of the positive reviews that have come through it are very high seller rating in the 90s, in the upper 90s. All of these things are certification or minority-owned certification, small business-owned certification. All of these are green packaging. All of these things work together so that when somebody sees, this over here is 25, this other seller has only got one review of the similar product. They've got one review. Oh no, they got 900 reviews. This one's got one review or 0 reviews. Ouch. So when you look at that, some people in the mind, and that's what I've learned, some people will always buy the cheapest, no matter what. I'll take a chance. It's only $12 versus 25. I don't care. But that's not the entire market. And I guarantee you, Dave, if you go into another industry, whether it's supplements, whether it's food, whether it's clothing, you're going to find people that are looking for that high in terms of price and comfort and trust, even though they're paying a little bit more, versus low price and similar, but the level of trust hasn't been built because they don't have the reviews. Their product page doesn't look very good. It looks like they only have one image. I'm surprised when I find products, as a consumer on Amazon, one image, maybe 2 images. I want to know. I want to see it from different angles. Do you have a video? How to use it? And there's still a lot of folks that are selling on Amazon. You want to up your game. You want to get more conversions. Throw more images that are good quality. Throw some video on that product page. Guarantee you're going to convert a lot more than folks that have 1 or 2 images on their product page. So why do I say this? Yes, I think it's going to be interesting for those curious sellers that can use that information, right? They have it there. It's there for the taking. It's valuable to us. Like, we could look at our competitors and be like, wow, they're killing it. We're not. What are we doing wrong, right? What do we need to do? Oh, look at that product page. Look at that. They got a video, Dave, on how to use it. They actually answered some questions, because customers can submit questions. That's the other thing you could see. We don't have any customer questions on ours. We haven't answered any of the questions on ours, right? So we're too busy. We can't answer your questions anymore. All of that, again, it can work in both directions. Our competitors can do the same. When those product listings are enabled and you can see I've seen both sales velocity as well as number of views. Like, this has been viewed 10,000 times in the last week or something like that. So I'm a little neutral because it's a double-edged sword. But for the way we roll, it should be a positive because it just gives us better clarity on where we're going.
Yeah, I agree. And not really looking for validation so much from other resellers in our space, but when those numbers start coming up, I have this sneaky suspicion that our competitors are going to be looking at us with a microscope, trying to figure it out, because we know how hard we work. We know how not hard our competitors are working. People copy us. People copy. Whatever. It happens.
Smart.
And,
call it smart working rather than hard working.
Smart working. Sorry. We're working very smart to be successful on Amazon. We have our mentors, but we're not looking at our competitors for validation, I guess I would say. We're happy with what we're doing, and our competitors are probably looking at us more than we're looking at them.
Let them keep looking. We're going to, like I said, we're going to be on version 4 when they're copying version 1.2. And that's staying curious, Dave. Staying curious. And I've heard this from 3 different guests that have been on the show that are super, super successful. They've all used that C word, curious. And like, that data you're talking about, why is it that product sells 10,000 units in a month? Right. And we've only sold 2, right? Let's check it out. But it requires work. It requires having a team in place in a process. I know we call it the audit process, where we go back regularly and take a look at what's working and what's not. We've heard that from another first. Nick was also mentioned that the other day on Amazon. You need to go back, take a look at the catalog. Where do you have holes? You don't know if you don't look. And this is why having a team is so critical. It's difficult for you as 1 or 2 people to master everything and then execute on all these things, because they do require lots of attention, human thinking, like, oh, well, the number says this, let's go get it. Here's what we got to do. Here's how we got to fix that. And so execution on the plan is the hardest part. Putting the plan in place, you do that. Somebody can give you some guidance, but then going out and executing and putting a system in place so that this could be wash, rinse, repeat, wash, rinse, repeat, wash, rinse, repeat. There's the magic sauce right there. So, Dave, I think we've given folks a lot to digest today when it comes to advanced selling, mastery of Amazon, hidden secrets or hidden opportunities, the Amazon game, and what makes you different. These are the things that are going to get you to 7, 8, and beyond. Or if you're looking to sell your business, your Amazon business, this is what it's going to take to excel and be in that small elite club of sellers that sell over 1 million a year. There's a small percentage. It's only like 2 or 3% of all sellers on Amazon achieve $1 million in sales or more. It's just the way it is. The numbers are, it's very hard to achieve that on the platform. So if you've been nerding out with us this entire time and you're still hanging in here to the end, you know, I want to invite you to check out some other episodes where Dave and I talk about our technology stack that we were talking about earlier, where we go through different pieces of technology and how those different technologies can help your business. And if you need assistance with picking out a warehouse, a 3PL provider, integrating technology, or streamlining your operations workflow, I invite you to give us a call or check us out. We'll be glad to chat with you and let you know what would work for your operation if you're trying to get to that next level. And I just also want to put in a plug for our last guest, Nick Gazar, formerly of Amazon. He had a lot of good secrets and nuggets and talked about his time at Amazon and what it was like and what he saw worked well for sellers that are succeeding. So I invite you to go check those episodes out. And Dave and I will see you the next time. All right, now for YouTube. And if you're on YouTube, go ahead and check these episodes out that's on the screen. Dave and I encourage you to go there. We'll meet you there because it will help you grow your business faster. I will see you in those episodes.